Hello, this is Grant Hughes of Grant Hughes Investigates on YouTube. I put out a video earlier today and hardly anybody saw it, but I think it's an important video, so I'm going to redo it. This time though, I'll put at the very beginning the 4 loops seen from the surveillance video at 1330 Linda Lane on November 13th, 2022, starting at around 3:31 in the morning and going to 4:08. You'll see that on the surveillance footage, but it's looped one after another. It takes maybe 4 or 5 minutes, and then you'll see from inside the vehicle in daylight hours exactly the full route that each of the loops took. And I think that gives you an incredible perspective of what was actually going on, and you'll have a much better feeling for the case than other people. Now, it's unfortunate that the video that I put out earlier didn't make it into the YouTube algorithm because, again, I think this is very important stuff. It's not conspiracy nutjob stuff that seems to be prevailing on YouTube, where conspiracy after conspiracy. I know it's more entertaining, everybody, but that's not what true crime is all about. So this is a part of yesterday's video, or the last video that I put out, where you see in the dark the vehicle driving by 1122 King Road and now back behind 300 Queen Road. This is at night, and here's where the surveillance camera picks it up. And you see the car enter that parking area at approximately, it looks like 3:30 and 55 seconds. You see it show up. The time that I put on the screen is when the light on the wall there disappears. So you see the vehicle drive by, you see it's lighting up the wall, and it gets a little bit lighter. Lighter is still darker. Now it's getting darker, and right about now it stops. So 3:31:15. And here it goes around behind 500 Queen Road. And this is what it would look like that night. Really dark. Of course, it was much colder, as that was winter, and I was there in September. September 5th is when that video was shot right there. And here it comes for pass number 2. And as you can see up there, it's 3:39 and 6 seconds when it actually shows up in that parking area. And then it drives by, goes by the wall, lights up that wall over there. And you can still see the wall lit, still lit, getting darker now, getting darker, and right there it goes away. And we have it at 3:39 and 32 seconds. And then about 17 minutes later, it comes by for the 3rd time, the white Elantra. And this is Bryan Kohberger's vehicle, and he is in it. And we know this because just 28 minutes after the murders, the same suspect vehicle was driving south of Moscow, and he turned his phone on and it pinged south of Moscow, Idaho, and then it continued to ping all the way around back into Pullman, Washington, where it was actually seen on camera at around 5:27, and it pinged at 5:30 back in Pullman, Washington. So that was 3:57 and 23 seconds when these lights went off the wall there on pass number 3. Now there's a pass number 4, but it has an aborted pass. It goes into the area and then does a 3-point turn and goes back out. And I think that's when he went out to check to see if Xana's lights were still on, because he likely drove in and saw that the lights were on, because remember, the DoorDash driver had just got there. So now he needs to go double check and see what absolutely is going on at this moment. So you see his car parked right there. It backs up and will leave the area. Now, something that's interesting, I'm going to show you right now. In a few minutes here, we're going to be driving down, after pass number 2, we're going to drive down this other street, which is Linda Lane, and it shows another surveillance camera still frame, and that image is right here, and that's at 3:29 and 48 seconds. Right here, the white Elantra is driving by, and it looks just like exactly the same profile right there. It's far away, so it's hard to make out exactly what vehicle it is. However, given the timing, it's 1 minute before the Linda Lane 1330 Linda Lane footage that we were just looking at, which gave us the 3:31:15, but it actually shows up in the area at 3:30 and 50 seconds, which is literally a minute after that surveillance footage that we just saw. And if we're going to go take a look at that, Linda Lane is right here. That camera is filming this direction, so that vehicle was driving by right there. 1 minute later, it pulls in and comes back behind 500 Queen Road, comes out to Queen Road again, and then exits the area. So I think that's more evidence that the white Elantra was driving and the timing, and I guarantee you law enforcement has multiple camera shots of that exact vehicle, and they know it's Bryan Kohberger's vehicle because his phone and vehicle are synced up at various times. Not during the murders, though, which is typical for somebody committing a murder. They turn off their phone or put it in airplane mode. And here is the completion of the aborted attempt at a pass. It drove back out to the front and is likely looking to see if Xana and the lights are off there. Now our lights are likely still on, but at 3:57 and 23 seconds, when he drove by the last time, perhaps he noticed that Madison's lights were off and he was going to do what he was going to do now. So he turned right back around, did a 3-point turn, and now he's completing his pass so he can park his vehicle back behind the residence, exit his vehicle at about 4:08. Perhaps he put on different clothing, something like that, really quickly, something he could slip on. And then he committed the murders between 4:08 and 4:20. But the murders, I believe, were between 4:09 and 4:17. And then he exits the residence, gets back in his car, and he takes off. And now I'm in the vehicle, and this is pass number 1. Driving by, back behind 500 Queen Road. Coming around behind, going through this little alley here, back behind 500 Queen Road, and then it'll come out right at 1122 King Road. And I believe this is exactly where the vehicle parked. And you'll see here in a moment how it's just an absolutely perfect view and easy to get like a straight line out of here. And I believe when he was there, people had already started taking off for holiday and there wasn't as many cars around. But if you look right there, there's where Madison Mogen's bedroom is, that wooden plank on the right. And now it's going to exit the area. Passing 1112 King Road. And right up here was where the surveillance camera was. And if you look right there, see that building right there? This is the surveillance shot. There's that exact same building, and this is a view from that camera, and this is on that very same night, 3.5 hours prior. It's going to be a very important camera here that's going to have a lot of information on it. And then the vehicle exits the area and turns left. And that was already pass 1 that we just showed you at the beginning, and this will be pass number 2. This whole loop here is loop number 2. Might be better just to call it loop. The first one, we just started right by the house because I know it was seen on a surveillance camera minutes before. So, I mean, that is known. I'm just going to start it there for convenience sake. And then it takes a left here on Willanta Drive. And it continues around here. Now, I believe on this first time we actually go down this road here, I'm going to end up taking a right here. And after doing this multiple times, I don't believe that that's the route he took. I thought maybe he did that because that way you wouldn't have to stop. So turning right here, you would go down and then take the first left. But there'd be no need to stop unless a car was coming, but that early in the morning, there won't be any cars on the road. And then he's driving. And right here on the left is a stop sign. Right there on the left side of the screen. And that's the route that the car would likely come out. And where that's at is after driving around, coming down here, that's Paradise Drive. So I went like this, in this direction, and then you loop around. I think it's simpler to remember to go left, left, left the whole time, just to do in your mind to turn left, to turn left, to turn left, and then make it back into King Road again. Eventually it makes its way to an intersection. So Bryan Kohberger's White Elantra, this is almost certainly the loop that it would take. It's definitely possible it went in another direction to extend the length out. So it's either, it definitely did this portion. Now, did it turn right here and extend the time out? Maybe. It's also possible it stopped at, the 1122 King Road at parking area behind it. What do you guys think? Don't you think it's possible that after each pass he would stop, look, wait, and watch, kind of stalk the house? I do. And so we're just about ready to complete pass number 2. We still have to go back behind 300 Queen Road. There's Banfield on the right there. Coming up right here is where those kids were pulled over by police, and then there's 4 guys walking by that dumpster right there. They have absolutely nothing to do with anything because it was at 3 in the morning. The murders happened between, again, 4:08 and 4:20. Now we're on King Road. Queen Road now. There's the 1112 King Road with the surveillance camera. Right there on the right now is the 1122 King Road where the homicides took place. We're now back behind 500 Queen Road, and we are completing the pass number 2 of the 1330 Linda Lane camera. And then back behind 500 Queen Road. And then we're going to drive around and come out right back in the parking area behind the building yet again. When I say building, I mean the 1122 King Road residence where the homicide took place. And look at right there, there's Madison Mogen's bedroom boarded up right there. Absolutely perfect view of it. And I might even pull the camera out to show it. He sits there perhaps for 3 minutes, looking, waiting, watching to see what's going on. And then he pulls out and drives away again. And it'll be stopping, I think, right in front of the 1122 King Road address. And if we take a look at this, right down here is Bethany Funk's bedroom. This is the main door to the house. This is a storage room, but it was a full bedroom. This is Xana Kernodle's bedroom. That's the room that Ethan and Xana were found in. This right here is the living room window. And then if you could go straight through that wooden board and through the next wall, that's where Dylan Mortensen lived. And up here is the window to the bathroom. And if you could go through that wall and then through another wall, that would go into Madison Mogen's bedroom. This is the window that would go up from the stairs. If you go up to the top of the stairs, a window comes through it. And then right over here is Kaylee Gonzalez's bedroom window. Now her room is twice as big as Madison Mogen's because there's a bathroom over here. Had you remove the bathroom, both those bedrooms would be pretty much the same size. And you see there's that security guard still sitting there. And there's a memorial right there on the ground, or on that wall there. And so again, we're just ending pass number 2, and then loop number 3 starts right after you exit here, and normally I would turn left. However, I'm turning right here first to show you where that other surveillance camera was that we were looking at earlier, which is on Linda Lane. And here we go. We're going to turn right on Linda Lane. And there's a dumpster there. And the camera is right up there on that 1320, right up here. That's where the camera is. Now let's take a look at that again. Right there, there's the dumpster. The camera's shooting down the road there. And right there is what I believe to be the white Elantra. It has the same profile that it has in the 1330 Linda Lane footage. And this is at 3:29 and 48 seconds. And as we described earlier, it's 1 minute exactly before it gets back behind 500 Queen Road. Pretty amazing. And I'm just going to turn around here. And in a second, you'll see some cars driving by, and that's what the camera was looking at. So right there, there's a white car, and here's another car, or that's a truck, I guess. And that camera would have picked them up from a distance. But that camera picked up the white Elantra at 3:29 and 40-something seconds. I'd love to have the rest of the footage to sync it all up, because I guarantee it that that car drove by there at probably like 3:55 and, 3:36 or something like that. And so now I'm going straight up this hill because that's where I should have turned after we finished pass number 2. So now we're in the midst of pass number 3, just at the beginning of it, where it's making its third loop, and eventually we'll take the third loop straight into behind 500 Queen Road again. But we're turning left here on Walata Drive, and this time I go the route that he likely would have taken, which would be, and this time I'm going the route that he likely would have taken and staying left at all times. And that's a great way to remember how to do this loop. I'm sure that Bryan Kohberger had been here multiple times. He'd been here, as the probable cause document said, 11 or 12 times. One of them was not in the evening, but all the rest of them were in the late evening hours. And I guarantee he came out here, scouted the area, and figured out how to do this looping and how to exit the area when he finally left. And see, that time I went straight, and here's that stop sign that we drove by before, but we came from the right there. And now that you've seen this, you know that the next thing we'll come to will be an intersection with a yield sign. Which is right here. And I stopped at the yield sign because, man, I'm such a cautious driver, you guys. And then we come around this curve here and go up. See how it's higher than the left side. And here's the stop sign. And we'll be on Taylor Avenue next. A little bit of a rolling stop there, but, you know, I did stop. And here we go. We're heading down towards Banfield. Will be up on the right again. Here's Banfield. And we'll be taking a left here onto King Road. And take a left onto Queen Road. That's where the surveillance camera is again. 1112 King Road. We're passing 1122 King Road now. Now it's 500 Queen Road. And I think this loop I borrowed from one of the loops just to give the timing. Everything works out exactly how it would be. And we're going back behind here again. I think on this loop that same white car is pulling out. But this is just to give you what it looks like and an example of the timing. So there's the white car pulling out. And then the vehicle is going to park right back in front of that other vehicle there, because I think that's the location. I'm just using common sense. I mean, I think this spot right here is perfect for what he wanted to do. He had a great view of Madison's room. You could even see down into Dylan Mortensen's room, but her light was likely off because she was sleeping at the time, right in bed, but then started listening to the horror that was going on. And no, Dylan Mortensen, Bethany Funk have absolutely nothing to do with anything. This is all Bryan Kohberger living out his serial killer fantasy. Here is where the third pass, and we're just about to exit the area. But we'll look back up again, and there is again the 1112 King Road surveillance camera footage. There's the house, and we've seen an image. We looked at it earlier from that camera. Now the vehicle is going to start its final pass. And the Wida launcher will turn left right here. And here we go. Sorry for the crap all over the windshield. Just never really had any time to go to some car wash somewhere and clean it off. Hadn't even crossed my mind, really. It's more authentic, though, right? Give me some points on that. But isn't this just absolutely creepy, you guys? I mean, just think about what we're doing here. This is what Bryan Kohberger was doing that night in the dark. Driving around, probably working himself up, and was even glad that they weren't going to sleep for a while because he kept building up. And then finally they went to sleep and he made his move. So we just veered off to the left, stayed left again. And we'll be down to that stop sign shortly. Takes us to Paradise. And by Paradise, I just mean Paradise Street. And again, the next thing we'll see is the intersection where we will be taking a left. And now we are on to Taylor Avenue for the home stretch. This will be the last time that Bryan Kohberger likely was ever on this street. He did come back at 9 in the morning, likely didn't come onto this street right here, and he came back to see his handiwork, hoping that law enforcement and all these people would be around. But there wasn't a soul. Nobody had reported anything, and he was so disappointed. Man, you gotta feel bad for Bryan Kohberger. He didn't get to live the thrill vicariously through law enforcement. Now he's entering the area for the 4th time. And he takes a left here. Now, what he likely did here was he drove up and he saw lights were on because Xana had just got the DoorDash delivery. And maybe there was some other movement. And now he was curious if he needs to perhaps call this whole thing off. So he does drive here again like he was normally going to do. And then he does a 3-point turn in this parking lot. We saw that on surveillance earlier. Almost exactly like this, right here, then backs up. He sat there for 8, 9, 10 seconds. Might have been a little bit longer, don't remember. And then he exits back this direction, because now he needs to go check on whatever he observed. So he comes back here and he looks and observes, and he's okay with it. Now he's trying to turn around here. And he attempts to turn around, but it's just not working for him. So then he goes over here to do a 3-point turn to complete the 4th pass like he had done all those other times. Backs up. And then he goes straight up Queen Road. Now you know that 1112 King Road is going to have a great video of that 3-point turn right there. And that's going to give them a really good shot of the vehicle profile, and they know exactly what this vehicle is. It might be extremely hard to see the license plate given the lights and various things that could keep you from being able to read the license plate. If there were no lights on, I think it'd be easy for the camera to pick that up. But if you have your lights on in your car, it tends to blow out the camera. So now you're driving through and he's completing the 4th pass. And he's going to park his car right here. And there you see it. You see Madison Mogen's window. This is 408. He might be doing some blood spatter mitigation. Goes into that house between 409 and 417 and kills all 4 people. Exits the house and puts on, perhaps some other blood spatter mitigation clothing so that nothing gets in his car. So maybe he takes off what he's wearing really quick, stuffs it in a bag, and then flips over something on himself, puts that in a bag, and takes off. Puts the knife in there, etc. And he takes off, and what he does right after that is, this is where he is right now. He drives this direction, and again goes on Willanta Drive. But because of his planning and prep work, he knew this time he takes a right here, and that might be a reason he might have taken rights before, just so that he has that part memorized, because he had to come down like this, and then he would take a right on Conestoga and drive around like that, and then he comes out on, I think it's called River Palooza Drive, I think is what it's called. No, Palooza River Drive, excuse me. So he came out right there, and then he heads over to Highway 95 right there, and then when he's heading down in this direction, when he gets near Blaine, Idaho, his phone pings, and that's at 4:48. But he claims he was just driving around. But he was driving around in suspect vehicle 1. Isn't that amazing? And then his phone started pinging all the way around, and then his vehicle started traveling up 195 right here, and gets into town right in this direction. His vehicle's picked up on surveillance cameras, and his phone pings again at 5:30 as he's entering back into Pullman, Washington. I hope you got a better sense of the crime scene by watching this video. One thing I want you to think about is true crime isn't a joke. It's not something to have conspiracy theories about and come up with all kinds of crazy ghosts and goblin stories with, trying to link all these different people to every single crime out there because people think it's entertaining. This isn't a joke. I do true crime because it's a passion of mine, and I like to figure out exactly what's happening in reality, not fantasy land. So if you'd like to help support this channel, please consider becoming a channel member. And I do live streams every single night as well, and I would appreciate the viewership. It's pretty interesting how we work through cases and we figure things out, and we're very, very accurate. I hope this video gave you a way better understanding of the crime scene area and what Bryan Kohberger was doing. I think I've got the mapping of his route behind on Willanta Drive exactly correct. It's possible, however, that he took slight variance, but he does come back on Taylor Avenue after leaving on Willanta Drive. And now you know the reality of this case, not Fantasyland. Thank you very much for watching. And as I always say, until next time, be safe out there.